Right then, Forest faithful, something massive is brewing at the city ground. I'm talking earth-shattering stuff here. And if you thought this transfer window was quiet, think again. Because what I'm about to reveal will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about this club's ambitions. We've got 5 bombshells coming your way today. 5 stories that paint a picture of absolute chaos behind the scenes. There's a winger chase that's gone completely mental, a manager who's reached his breaking point, transfer talks that could reshape our entire attack, deadline day madness with players coming and going, and targets that'll make your head spin. But here's what's got me rattled. One of these stories involves a complete U-turn on a player we've been chasing for months. Another shows Nuno at his most vulnerable, saying things that will shock you to your core. And there's talk of a $35 million move that could either save our season or sink it completely. Now, before we dive into this madness, I need to know something. Are you ready for the truth about what's really happening at our club? Because some of you might not like what you're about to hear. The romantic notion of steady progress. That might be about to get blown to pieces. Hit that like button if you can handle the reality check coming your way. And drop a comment telling me, do you trust this board to get these signings right? Because after what I'm about to tell you, you might change your mind completely. The transfer chaos starts right here, right now. And the first revelation, it's about a Belgian winger who's gone from reject to top target in the space of 48 hours. This is where it all begins to unravel. He's 27 years old. He's been tearing up La Liga, and just when you thought Forest had given up on signing wingers, his name comes roaring back into the conversation. We're talking about Dodi Lukebakio from Sevilla. And the story behind this transfer chase will leave you scratching your head in disbelief. Here's what's happened. Forest had been tracking Delaine Bakwa from Strasbourg for weeks, throwing bid after bid at the French club. 3 separate offers, all rejected. The fans were getting frustrated, Nuno was getting impatient, and it looked like we'd move on to other targets. Classic Forest, right? But then, out of nowhere, everything changed. Belgian transfer expert Sacha Tavolieri drops this bombshell on social media. Forest have completely switched their attention to Lukebakio. They've made him their concrete target, and Sevilla are literally waiting for our offer to land on their desk. Now here's where it gets interesting. This isn't some panic buy or desperate last-minute scramble. Lukebakio has been quality for years. At Sevilla, he's racked up goals and assists consistently, and this season alone, he's already showing he can operate at the highest level. The man knows how to find the back of the net, he can create chances out of nothing, and he's got that pace and directness we desperately need on the right wing. The Spanish press are reporting that Sevilla's sporting director, Antonio Cordon, is actively trying to move him on. They need the money, they're willing to negotiate, and get this, they'd accept $30 million despite his release clause being $45 million. That's a massive discount for a player of his caliber. But here's the kicker. Benfica are sniffing around as well, and they can offer Champions League football. We're talking about a player who specifically wants to move to a top league and compete at the highest level. Can we offer him that? Are we that attractive proposition compared to Portuguese giants who will be playing European football? There's also this underlying question about our transfer strategy. Why chase Bakwa for weeks, waste time and energy, only to pivot to a completely different player with 24 hours left in the window? Does this smack of panic? Or is it smart opportunism when a better target becomes available? What do you think? Is Lukebakio the missing piece in our attacking puzzle, or are we setting ourselves up for another transfer window disappointment? Drop your thoughts below, because this could be the signing that defines our entire season. And if you think that was chaotic, wait until you hear what Nuno said after our worst performance of the season. 3-0 at home to West Ham at the City Ground in front of our own fans. I'm talking about Nuno Espirito Santo. And what happened after that capitulation will go down as one of the most honest, brutal assessments from a Forest manager in recent memory. Picture this scene. Forest had started the season brilliantly. Everything looked rosy. The football was flowing, the tactics were working, and there was genuine optimism around the place. Then Sunday afternoon arrives, and it all comes crashing down in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. West Ham didn't just beat us, they dismantled us. Jared Bowen, Callum Wilson, Lucas Paqueta. They made us look like amateurs. Our defense was all over the place. Our midfield was non-existent, and our attack couldn't create a decent chance if their lives depended on it. But here's what made it worse. Matsel's in goal was actually brilliant. 3 excellent saves that should have rescued us. But when your goalkeeper is your best player and you still lose 3-0 at home, you know something has gone seriously wrong. Nuno's reaction? Absolutely devastating. I'm upset. I'm very upset. We are all upset. Those were his opening words, not diplomatic manager speak. Raw, honest emotion. He called the performance shocking and said it was really bad without any sugarcoating whatsoever. Here's the tactical breakdown that should terrify every Forest fan. First half, we were apparently dominant and in control, but lacked urgency and were too slow. So even when we were supposed to be good, we weren't actually good enough. Then the second half, complete capitulation. Totally different, he said. We started committing mistakes and getting punished for them, were unbalanced, and there were gaps. The psychological aspect is what worries me most. This is a manager who's been dealing with speculation about his future, rumors about falling out with Edu, questions about his long-term position at the club. Then this happens. It's like everything came together in the worst possible way. And here's the really concerning bit. Evangelos Marinakis was at the game watching this unfold. The owner sees his team get embarrassed at home, sees his manager looking lost on the touchline, and now he's supposed to back him in these crucial transfer market decisions. Nuno admitted they need to figure out the reason behind it and make sure it doesn't happen again. But what if it's not just tactics? What if it's deeper than that? What if the players have stopped believing in the system, the method, the whole project? The manager also confirmed what we all suspected. There are still issues behind the scenes to address. We are going to speak because there are things to address, he said. That doesn't sound like a man confident in his position. So here's my question for you. Is this just a bad day at the office? Or is this the moment where Nuno's Forest project starts to unravel? Can he bounce back from this humiliation, or are we looking at the beginning of the end? Comment below with your honest assessment, because what I'm about to tell you next shows just how desperate things have become in the transfer market. Remember that $35 million winger we supposedly gave up on? Well, plot twist, we haven't given up at all. I'm talking about Delaine Bakwa from Strasbourg, and the latest developments in this transfer saga will make your head spin with confusion. So here's where we left it. 3 bids rejected by Strasbourg. Forest apparently moving on to other targets. Fans writing off any chance of landing the 23-year-old. Classic transfer window frustration, right? Wrong. Because according to the Telegraph's John Percy, one of the most reliable journalists covering Forest, we've actually entered advanced negotiations for Bakwa before Monday's deadline. Not just casual interests, not just exploratory talks, advanced negotiations. That means we're serious, we're close, and something significant is happening behind the scenes. Now, let's talk about why this matters so much. Bakwa isn't just any winger. This lad has been absolutely electric for Strasbourg. 12 goals and 21 assists in 71 appearances. Those aren't just decent numbers. Those are game-changing statistics from someone who can operate anywhere across the front line. But here's what should excite every Forest fan about his current form. This season alone, he's managed a goal and 3 assists in just 105 minutes of League One football. That's not a typo. 105 minutes. He's been spending time on the bench because Strasbourg know a sale is coming, but when he plays, he delivers immediately. The financial side of this is where it gets really interesting. Strasbourg want $35 million plus add-ons. That's serious money for Forest. We're talking about a fee that would smash our transfer record and signal genuine ambition from the ownership. But here's the thing. Blueco, who owns Strasbourg, have been adding players all summer. Why? Probably because they know they're about to lose their best asset and need replacements ready. What's fascinating is the timing. Why restart negotiations now, with hours left in the window? Either this has been going on behind the scenes all along and the rejected bid story was just negotiating tactics, or something has changed dramatically in the last 48 hours. My theory, the Luke Bacchio interest was always a backup plan. Forest knew Bakwa was their primary target, but they needed alternatives in case Strasbourg stayed stubborn. Now, with the deadline looming, everyone's getting realistic about getting deals done. But there's a darker possibility here. What if this is just desperate window dressing? What if we're briefing the press about advanced talks to make it look like we're trying, knowing full well that $35 million is beyond our reach or that Strasbourg won't budge? The versatility factor is crucial for Nuno's system. Bakwa can play right wing, left wing, even as a number 10. That flexibility could solve multiple tactical problems with one signing. But it also means we're paying premium money for someone who might not have a fixed position. Here's what really bothers me about this whole saga. If we've wanted him all summer, if he's been the priority target, why are we leaving it until the last possible moment? Is this shrewd negotiation or poor planning? And here's the big question. If we don't get Bakwa, if this falls through again, what does that say about our ambitions? Are we genuine European contenders, or are we still just hoping to survive? Let me know in the comments. Do you think $35 million for Bakwa is money well spent or madness? Because the next story shows just how many other deals we're trying to juggle. 7 potential transfers, 1 day left, multiple positions to fill. This is deadline day madness at its absolute finest. We're talking about the complete overhaul that could happen in the final hours of the transfer window. And the sheer scale of business Forest are trying to complete will leave you breathless. Let's start with the arrivals, because this is where it gets exciting. Cuiabano from Botafogo is basically done. Left back sorted. That's our 4th signing from the Brazilian club this window, after Igor Jesus, Jaya Cunha, and John Victor, who was announced just hours after our West Ham disaster. Marinakis clearly loves shopping in Brazil. But here's where it gets interesting. We still need a winger, right? Well, besides the Bakwa and Lukebakio situations we've already covered, there's a third name in the mix. Lee Kangye from Paris Saint-Germain. Now that's a statement signing if we can pull it off. The South Korean international has serious pedigree, Champions League experience, and the kind of technical ability that could transform our attacking options. The problem? PSG players don't come cheap, and there's no way they're letting him go without a fight. This feels like the kind of ambitious target that sounds great on paper, but might be beyond our reach financially. Now, the departures. And this is where Nuno's honesty becomes crucial. And remember what he said after the West Ham game? Yes, we have to do that. We want to have the whole squad motivated. Translation: players are leaving whether they like it or not. Jota Silva is practically out the door. Sporting Lisbon have wanted him for ages, but Paris FC have suddenly entered the race. That's 2 clubs fighting over a player we apparently don't need anymore. Either he's better than we thought, or we're making a mistake letting him go. Omar Richards, Stan Eric da Silva Moreira are both looking for moves because Nuno's been brutally honest. They won't get game time here. Fair enough, but it shows how ruthless football can be. 1 minute you're part of the project, the next minute you're surplus to requirements. Then there's Josh Bowler, who's completely out of Nuno's plans. Taiwo Awoni wasn't even in the squad against West Ham, which has sparked serious speculation about his future. These aren't fringe players we're talking about. These are significant squad members who could be gone within hours. But here's what should worry every Forest fan about this approach. We're trying to do too much business too quickly. 7 potential moves in 1 day? That's not strategic planning, that's panic. You can't properly evaluate players, negotiate fair deals, or ensure tactical fit when you're rushing against a deadline. The goalkeeping situation is still unresolved too. David Soria from Getafe remains the target to provide competition for Matt Sells, but Spanish clubs are notoriously difficult to deal with, especially when they know you're desperate. What's most concerning is the lack of coherent strategy. Are we buying young players for development? Are we buying experienced players for immediate impact? Are we buying versatile players who can cover multiple positions? It feels like we're just throwing darts at a board and hoping something sticks. Nuno admitted the club is trying to do all these deals, but trying and achieving are very different things. What happens if half these moves fall through? What happens if we end up with a bloated squad of players who don't want to be here? The most telling quote from the manager was about having the whole squad motivated. That suggests we currently have players who aren't motivated, who aren't committed, who are basically stealing a living. So here's my question for the Forest faithful. Is this deadline day activity smart squad management or desperate scrambling? Are we showing ambition or just creating chaos? Drop your predictions below, because the final story reveals the 5 key targets that could define our entire season. European football, multiple competitions, a squad that needs serious depth. These are the 5 signings that could make or break our entire season. Let's be honest about where we are right now. Nuno's been crystal clear about what he needs. And if we don't deliver these positions before Monday's deadline, we could be looking at a very long, very difficult campaign. David Soria, the goalkeeper situation first. Yes, we've got Angus Gunn as backup to Matt Sells, but Nuno wants 3 experienced keepers. Soria's 32. He's been brilliant for Getafe since 2018, over 250 appearances for the Spanish side. This isn't some panic signing. This is a manager who knows that one injury to Sells could derail our entire season. Real Madrid Academy graduate, Champions League experience with Sevilla. Quality depth that could be crucial. The winger positions are where it gets really interesting. We've covered Bakwa and Luque Bacchio extensively, but there's clearly a systematic approach here. Nuno wants pace, directness, goal threat from wide areas. Our current options, they're either inconsistent or not suited to his tactical system. Whichever winger we eventually sign needs to hit the ground running, because there's no time for a betting in period. But here's what's most fascinating about these targets. They're not just squad fillers. Every single player being mentioned represents a significant upgrade on what we currently have. That suggests the ownership is backing Nuno properly. But it also raises expectations massively. The fullback situation tells its own story. Lee Cuiabano coming in shows we're not satisfied with our current left-back options. But what about right-back? Are we assuming Ola Aina and Gonzalo Montiel are enough? That could be a dangerous assumption given the fixture congestion coming up. Central defense might need attention too, but that seems less urgent given our current options. However, if we're planning to play in Europe regularly, injuries and suspensions will test our depth quickly. Here's what worries me most about this whole approach. We're trying to solve too many problems simultaneously. Yes, the squad needs strengthening, but there's a difference between strategic additions and panic buying. 5 major targets with hours left suggest we've left too much too late. The timeline is what's killing me. Why weren't these deals identified and progressed weeks ago? Why are we scrambling on deadline day like a championship club rather than planning like the European competitors we're supposed to be? But let's be positive for a moment. If Forest actually pull off 3 or 4 of these signings, we're looking at a completely transformed squad. The depth to compete in multiple competitions, the quality to challenge for European spots again, the tactical flexibility to adapt to different opponents. The financial commitment will be enormous though. We're potentially talking about $60–70 million in fees across these targets. That's not just investment, that's a statement of intent that this club is serious about establishing itself in the top half of the Premier League permanently. Nuno's been back before, but never to this extent. If these signings happen, there can be no excuses next season, no complaints about squad depth, no tactical limitations, just results on the pitch. So here's where we stand, Forest faithful. 24 hours to transform our entire squad. 24 hours to show whether this ownership group has the ambition to match their promises. 24 hours to discover whether we're genuine European contenders or just another mid-table team with big dreams. The question isn't whether we need these players, it's whether we can actually get them over the line. And based on our track record with complex deadline day deals, I'm genuinely nervous. What's your prediction? Do we get 3 signings, 2 signings, or do we end up with just Cuiabano and a lot of frustrated fans? Hit like if you think we'll surprise everyone. Comment below with your deadline day predictions. And subscribe, because whatever happens in the next 24 hours, you'll want to hear my reaction to how this transfer window ends. This is it, Forest fans. This is where we find out what this club really is. European hopefuls or mid-table dreamers. The answer comes tomorrow night.